I'll open it up. Go ahead.
First question. Pete?
Tom, the success you guys have had this year on three-point shooting defense, I think they were 1 for 13 tonight.
The success, you mean the last couple of weeks, maybe, not necessarily this year. So.
Well, the last couple of weeks, but certainly I think this season they're like leading the Big Ten, I think, in three-point
Is that right?
shooting defense.
Not yet, no.
It's not?
No.
That's wishful thinking, though.
Yeah.
We'd like to be.
Really?
Fifth. You're fifth.
Fifth. In the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Might change to
You got a question? Pete, you got a question, JD statistics? The dude's rainmaker. You gotta say,
I'm not arguing.
Gardner Webb made 14 tonight, so it may change.
I understand. Anyway, what's been the key to the success you've had recently?
Well, staying committed to our principles. We did lead the league last year, and we were 12th in the nation. And in this league, I've said this so many times, but it's so true. In this league, you've got to be absolutely committed to the shooters, because if you overhelp in penetration, they're going to knock it down. So the whole key, when we've struggled, is when we've overhelped, when we've lost sight of our man. You know, when we're overhelping on the ball. And one of the things we've got to continue to do, our three-point defense will continue to get better, is we control penetration better. Because when we control penetration, then our terms and the way that we're trying to do it, we can stay with the shooters better. But we never want to be an overhelp team. And now there's certain places you have to help, certain places you have to double. That's more game plan specific. But as a rule, we want to be an early help, all right, and then get back to our man as quick as possible. And we spend a lot of time on that. We break that down every day, and then we try to really make sure we're emphasizing it in what we do. And it's starting to get better, but it's got to improve even more.
Mike?
They really slowed it down, held the ball the first 10, 12 minutes of the first half. How do you feel like you guys handled that?
I think it was good, because we weren't prepared for that as much as seeing it from other teams, but it was really good, because it'll happen. It happens in this league. And we've had that in the past, where teams' pace of play will change when they play us. And I'm actually glad that it happened, because it forced us to do a couple different things defensively. It got us extended a little bit, which put some pressure on the ball. We went into some three-quarter court trapping, at least to get the tempo. We didn't get a lot of success with the trap, but we got the game going a little bit faster. And I think that's good, because last year, and we didn't see it as much, but the year before we weren't as good at being able to get the tempo a little bit faster. With this year's team, if we can get consistent depth, we've got to be able to get the tempo faster when somebody wants to take time off the clock, you know, whether we're man or we're zone. So it was very good training for us tonight to build for what we could see in the next couple of weeks.
Rick? Yeah, Hunter's blocks, rebounds, he seems more confident offensively the last 2 or 3 games. Is that just the result of him getting more consistent time?
Well, I don't know if it's that. He's been getting pretty consistent time. I think it's a matter of him just continuing to improve. And that's why we just try to make sure we never, you know, put the cart before the horse. Everything is important, that he stay focused, that he stay locked into what he's got to do fundamentally, that we never get too far ahead of ourselves. I do think this. I think the Louisville game, there weren't a lot of positives in the Louisville game, but Hunter walking out of that game knowing that he could score, and knowing that he could score in a one-on-one situation against length, against good people, really helped him. And I think he's responded from that game in the sense of that being a positive, and then the fact that he wasn't as aggressive throughout the game as he could be. He wasn't as good on the glass as he could have been. He wasn't as aggressive down low as he could have been defensively. And I've seen it even more in practice, more talk in practice, more leadership in practice, and I think confidence just continues to grow for him. And he's taken his time in the post. You know, Steve has done a fantastic job with him. I mean, he slows it down. He's not in a rush. You know, his first couple of years here, you know, when he caught it, he would be in a rush. He would try to score immediately. And he's learned a little bit more patience. He's starting to pass out of it, and he's covered ground. And he's actually a pretty good shooter. He's made a couple of jump shots. And we work hard on that every day. So I think he's just going to continue to constantly improve. And I think Emmett's on the same path.
Alex?
You've talked about in the past developing depth as defining it as, you know, not having a drop off when you go to the bench. I mean, this year it seems like that's developing maybe better than it did a year ago.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
What do you feel like is behind that, and just kind of how do you keep moving forward with that?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things behind it. I think that some of the guys coming off the bench have been a part of it now. And I think the thing we try to, I know we've had the same starting lineup for the most part, but I think they're buying that I'm not really committed to that. It doesn't have to be that. You know, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But the bottom line becomes, are you impacting the game? And too many times young players believe their impact is on the offensive end versus everything. You know, versus the defense, versus the rebounding, versus the ball movement, and them moving without the ball. And they validate their game based on their offense. And I see it with my own son who's in the 10th grade. He'll validate his game based on if he shot it well or not. No, did you do the other things? That's what the bottom line is. And guys are starting to formulate roles. I wouldn't say they're all into roles yet, because roles are always, in a program like this where we're trying to work on daily improvement so much in skill development, you have a chance to expand your role. But your role gets expanded by how you impact the game. And that plus minus for guys, and there's certain lineups right now that we know we're going to the last couple weeks that are pretty good lineups for us. We've got guys that they're not hung up on, all right, did I do this, did I do that? They're hung up on, did they go in and impact the game? And when you have that, now the moment it becomes, did I get a shot, did I score, you know, my turn, those things are a recipe for disaster. When they come in and they really see that they're a product of, our team is a product of ball and body movement and good defense. I mean, our offense was really good, okay, in that 6-minute stretch right there at the end of the first half, right? Our defense was tremendous. And the more that they realize that the defense can make their offense really good, the better we'll be too. And they're getting there.
Okay.
One non-conference game left. Where has this team really surprised you so far, and where have they kind of left you a little disappointed?
Well, I haven't really thought through on that. You know, and you are the master at asking those questions. You know, I'm not really big pictured right now, but maybe I'll look at that a little bit over the next couple of days. But I don't spend time on that. It's always, everything needs to get better. I know that sounds corny and cliche-ish, but it does. Okay, the moment you think, especially with a young team, the moment that you think that you've got something worked out is the moment it goes away. And maybe there's some things that are becoming more reminder-oriented, but we still need to improve. We've got to continue to make sure that the constants of defensive rebounding with blockouts, offensive rebounding with pursuit, getting the ball up the court on misses or makes, transition defense, our pick-and-roll defense, everything has got to continue to improve. If I had to pick one thing that I would say has been a plus, I would say they've improved every week. They've really improved every week. You can see it. And if I'd say there's one thing that disappoints me, is that we don't always know how to keep the hammer down. And that's going to catch us. That's going to catch us. And we've got to outgrow that. And we don't talk defensively yet anywhere near where we've got. I mean, there's way more things we got to get better at than things that I would say, okay, this is going really good. But that's what you do every day. You just keep attacking everything. And you have your emphasis points. And then you say, okay, well, we've got to do more of this tomorrow. We've got to do more of this in 2 days. But we've got to make sure we're getting this done every day.
See, a thoughtful question for you. A thoughtful question for you.
Thank you. I'm thinking on my feet. So,
Dave?
Coach, you've been talking about depth and impact.
No, they've been talking about depth and impact. I've been talking about impact. Go ahead.
With depth and impact, and now also communicate. Colin Hartman, he's just kind of been a different player, hasn't he? Or definitely the last few ball games, his impact.
Well, I'd say all year he's been different. You know, he's changed his mindset of the game. And I've said this before recently, and I think it's so true. When you have something taken away from you, like he had it with the injury, and it either brings tremendous focus, or it gets you to wallow in self-pity and you get distracted. He didn't do any of that. I mean, he worked incredibly hard this offseason, and he rehabbed hard, he trained hard, but he got stronger. He controlled what he could control. And when we got into the summer, and he really couldn't do anything but stand in one spot and shoot, we made sure we got him in that spot shooting as much as possible. And so, because he'd earned that, you know, for us to revamp what we were doing in our summer workouts to make sure he was included, even when he couldn't play. Even, you know, obviously we didn't know exactly when he'd be back. But he plays with tenacity. He's talking more than ever. He's a product of going through it for a year, all right? and not sitting there. You know, he wanted to play more last year. You know, hindsight's 20/20. Wish I had. Okay, but he wasn't the player that he was a year ago. It's a great example for guys like Max and Tim, all of them to see, Emmett even, when you are, when you make the changes that you have to make, and you make it absolutely about moving without the ball, hustle game. I'll give you an example. We did this with our team yesterday. I said this to Don Fisher in the pregame show, but we asked probably 6 or 7 guys, okay, describe Colin Hartman for me, all right? And he's right in the room. It's a team meeting. And there might have been 2 guys that brought up the term shooting, okay, 3-point shooting. I said, no, if I said the 4th highest Ken Palm offensive efficiency rated guy was in this room, would you pick Colin? And that got their attention. You know, and I said, it's not about what the criteria of offensive efficiency rating is. This guy impacts the game. And that's where you want to be. So, bottom line, that's what he's doing, and I hope he continues to do. We still hold him out of segments of practice. We still hold him out at times to make sure he continues to heal. But he is a model for what it takes to win, and we're talking about a pretty skilled guy too, right? He's not just some guy that's blue collar that's running around, can't make plays. He can make a lot of plays, but he's improving constantly.
Jeremy?
How much of the improvement or growth do you feel like is maybe attributable to the bond or the unity that this team's sort of developed?
Well, I think that's always been ongoing. It wasn't just in you know, what happened 7 weeks ago. That crystallized it in the sense of, okay, this group's, we got to change now. Okay, we've got to grow up. We've got some real things here we've got to deal with an injured teammate, and you know, everything that's going on around us, and we've got to absolutely stay focused and eliminate distractions and get better every day. All those things that sound corny, you've got to make sure that they happen. So, is that a part of it? Well, without question it is. Without question it is. But we got better in the spring. Now, we weren't as mature as we needed to be, certainly off the court in the spring and summer, and even at the start of the school year. But they were starting to get better. And I've said this before numerous times. We started our workouts right after spring break. We had some guys leaving, and we moved right on. And it's all a product of that. It's all a product of guys continuing to grow. But they're maturing, you know, and we could make a mistake tonight, as everybody knows. Okay, any family could, any team could. But the bottom line is they're really trying to grow, and I see them taking more. You know, you can't be a great teammate and be afraid to say something to somebody or be too thin-skinned to take it. And I see guys changing on that. I see guys growing into that. I see guys responding. You know, I take Troy out because he should have drawn a charge, okay? And at that point in time, I'm not thinking about him being Big Ten Co-Player of the Week. I'm not thinking about ESPN.com Player of the Week. I'm thinking about, you want to take the next step, take the charge. And he's out for a couple minutes, he goes right back in, boom, he's a huge part of the run that we make. That's growth. You know, that's growth. And that's what you want to continue to have.
Zach?
Not to keep sort of hammering the big picture idea, but you talked in the offseason about last year's team just being unable to kind of control momentum. It would take a step forward, then a step back. It felt like, I guess, game to game in that way. Is this team better at that, maybe for some of the reasons that you talked about, just being able to recognize what works and how to sustain it?
Well, there's guys that were here are maturing, and it's different guys. There's a different dynamic, and we're building a different dynamic. And we had a little different team last year, obviously. You know, we didn't have the shooting that we had, and we had some different strengths that we tried to play to, and we always wanted to get that team to be a consistent, deeper team. It didn't happen that way. But I don't want to go back to compare too much of that other than that part of it. But this group is really, they practice really hard, and they spend a lot of time. They don't always understand why they're spending that time yet, especially some of the young guys, but the other ones do, and they've really worked hard to build the right kind of work ethic, culture, and maturity that needs to go into it. But we're a long way from understanding yet how to play a full 40-minute game, you know, with a lead or the comeback situation. You know, we've made strides. I thought the Butler game was a really big stride-making game at the 5-6 minute mark when it was a 1-point game, and we got those 5 stops in a row, right?
Yes.
You know, that was huge to build on. But 2 weeks ago, you know, we didn't play as well against Louisville. I mean, so it's It's all part of a big old process that you can never get away from, trying to make sure they understand how important each and every day is to that process.
Pete?
Tom, the parity that you're seeing nationwide, teams getting upset left and right, including in the Big Ten, how much of a challenge is that to get guys ready for, say, New Orleans, which was, I think, 304 in KenPom, to get ready for that, to get them to understand the quality of each team you're playing, regardless of where they're ranked?
I keep going back to the word maturity, but that's what it is. If you want to be a really good team, you can't prepare a lot differently, okay? Certainly there's going to be teams in games where the players are household names to them, right? Where they've competed against them, they've played against them, they watch them on TV, and they know them. All right, well, you can't prepare for that guy a lot differently than you prepare for the guy that you don't really know much about him, but he really can go right, or he can really go left, or he's an excellent three-point shooter. A great example, we compared 13 tonight to an inside version of Kellen Dunham. He did his most work after he caught the ball. Kellen Dunham, this went off. Anybody want to flip it? Now wait. Okay. Kellen does such a good job of creating contact, does such a good job of shot faking after he's picked the ball up, all those different things. Well, the 13's leading the country in field goal percentage, I believe, right? And so much of his work is done after he picks that dribble up. We weren't always as good at that, but we spent a lot of time on it. Well, short time we had, we spent time on it. So them understanding that, now you can start to make, well, this is an inside version of Kellen Dunham, or this is what we saw 2 weeks ago from, 3 weeks ago from SMU, this is what they do here. That part of it gets it. But if they really, really want to grow to be good, okay, they will mature and understand that every game is its own game. We're more of a game plan team, especially defensively, and then how we want to attack their ball screen defense. And so they're buying into that. We're always going to add things which keeps them energized. And I think at any point in time, if the coaches ever come in and we're not as emphatic, as energetic, as jacked up about what we need to do to get ready for that game, they'll take our lead. All right, but if we come in with that attitude every day, and the older guys that are really, really serious about what this takes come in with that attitude every day, then we're going to get better.
Okay. I think that's it.
Nothing else?
We'll see some of you guys in New York.
All right. Happy holidays to everybody, your families. Thank you.
Same to you.